In October, I'll be playing the Beethoven Violin Concerto with the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. It's my debut concerto with the orchestra, and I'm really looking forward to working with Manfred Honeck and also the PSO to play this wonderful piece. This is really one of the great violin concertos and one of my favorite pieces of music. The Beethoven Violin Concerto was composed by Ludwig van Beethoven in 1806, and he wrote it for a virtuoso at the time, Franz Clement, who was a virtuoso violinist. And it has an interesting first performance story. Beethoven was running very behind on getting the piece ready, and as the story goes, he actually did not provide the score to the soloist until a couple days before the first performance. So luckily, he was a real virtuoso and was able to basically sight read at the first performance. But for various reasons, the first performance was really a dud. It was not a success with the audience. And maybe the soloist Clement realized this. So after the first movement, apparently he put in his own cadenza and played a piece on one string with the violin upside down to the great entertainment of the audience. And then they continued with the rest of the concerto. Well, the first movement of the Beethoven Violin Concerto starts with a lengthy tutti, and that's where the orchestra plays, but the violinist doesn't. So I will probably just be standing there listening to my colleagues playing. What happens in the Beethoven Violin Concerto is he actually introduces all of the important themes of the first movement in the orchestra first. And so I'm sure you know the famous theme. That's introduced in the tutti before the violin even comes in. This concerto features a lot of, simply said, scales and arpeggios. We think of scales and arpeggios as technical warm-up study work, but Beethoven really uses them in a musical development sense to provide structure and commentary on the themes he presents. And even if you look at some of the themes in the first movement, they're basically just scales and arpeggios. So the famous is just part of a scale, missing the first note. So the whole scale will be, and he goes, and then he goes down. That's one of the themes. Another theme that comes in and is introduced early in the tutti is which once again is just 3 scales starting on each one a note higher. And so when that comes in the solo violin part, first of all, the first time it comes, he changes it from major to minor. So, and then he does the same thing, but with octaves. So this is the violin solo entrance. It's basically the same thing, but just elaborated a little bit differently. I hope you found this information about the Beethoven Violin Concerto and background interesting. And I'm very excited to be playing the Beethoven as my concerto debut with the PSO, and hope to see you at Heinz Hall October 12th through 14th this fall.